What Tressa is, and honestly, I can't for the life of me because it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and my brain is a bit dead right now.
Yeah.
Is I can't for the life of me remember what the actual TRESA is represents, but what it
Okay.
is doing is it is replacing our original act, which it was called the REBA 2002, the
Hmm.
Real Estate Act, right?
Okay.
So the Real Estate Act is what governs us. That act is put into place by the Real Estate Council of Ontario, and it basically talks about all the things that we're allowed to do and not allowed to do. It has
Hmm.
our code of ethics embodied with it. So my understanding in very layman's terms, and anybody that's on here, feel free to chip in,
Hmm.
is real estate changes over the years, and it's
Hmm.
changed significantly since 2002.
Yes.
So there are certain scenarios that now come into play that maybe didn't come into play as much when the original act was formed. So I
Hmm.
think for those of us that are really now invested in watching the new videos, the Ontario Real Estate Association has released now the third training video, which now is going into how it's going to change with us in the open bidding wars. I've watched part of it. I have not watched all of it yet. So I think this is going to, from what I know so far, Crystal, is if we can have somewhat of an open mind in regards to the changes, I can see how this will benefit us as well as our clients going forward,
Hmm.
based on a lot of the hand slapping things that some realtors have been allowed to get away with.
Hmm.
And I think that overall, we're going to see some of these significant changes really benefit and really stop some of the things that should never have been allowed from
Yeah.
happening. That's my
Okay.
overall take
The
from what
overall.
so far.
Hmm. Now, is it going to prevent, I guess, dual representation, meaning you can't list, like, serve the seller and the buyer unless the
I
buyer is a
haven't seen
customer?
that yet. I
No?
haven't seen that. So what you guys can do is you can go on the Real Estate Council of Ontario's website. And I've been on it quite a few times because it does have a link for Tressa, and it does itemize what the
Right.
changes are. So you can certainly familiar yourself with it that way. I haven't seen that. The biggest thing that I've seen so far, the different tidbits, is certainly the buyer's rep,
Hmm.
and how we are now going, it looking like to me like we are going to probably have to get a buyer right from the get-go to determine whether or not they're going to self-represent themselves or if they're going to work as a buyer client. This
Hmm.
sounds to me from what we've seen so far that we're literally going to, whether or not we're just going to jump and show them a property, whether it's our listing or not, they're going to have to let us know, I fall here or I fall here. And
Hmm.
the buyer's representation agreement is going to be either one or the other when we
Yeah.
walk into a place. They
Yeah.
are going to have to sign while seeing a property. I'm self-representing, or I'm going to work on this property as your client. So, Crystal,
Yeah. I find
everybody,
I feel like that's
what
beneficial
does
though.
this prevent? I've
It's
got a
going to,
listing at 123
mhm.
Main Street,
Yes.
and it's located in 2 hours north of the city.
Hmm.
And agent so-and-so's buyer in the city doesn't want to make the drive 2 hours to Tara Baylis's listing at 123 Main Street. And what does that agent do? Call Tara, get her to show you the property, but I'm going to be the one to do the offer with you,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So now going forward, it sounds like, okay, Joe, you want to see 123 Main Street. Are you working with me as a client on this property, or are you working with me as self-representing yourself?
Hmm.
Because either way, you're doing an offer with me.
Yes.
right?
Well, that's I feel like that's great because
I
there's
love it.
so much of that goes on, right?
I
And
love it.
there's a lot of, and even, even when I was practicing real estate years and years ago, there'd be scenarios where, the agent would give the client the lockbox code because they couldn't be bothered to go show them the property. They're like, here, just go let yourself in and take a look. Right. And then,
This happened.
those are really bad scenarios when that happens. Like that's incredibly horrible that an agent would do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially those that are working in rural areas that have the agents that don't want to commute out that way over and over and over again. Like go do that. It's going to be, I think you're going to see a lot more referral agreements going out as well.
Tell me anybody that's on here, feel free to chip in. This isn't even just rural. This is happening significantly high in Durham, Quinte region, Northumberland region, from realtors in the city who simply don't want to make the drive. One of our agents called me not last week, the week before. She discovered that somebody had given the lockbox code to their buyer because they didn't want to make the drive. Mm-hmm. This is where, this is why we have the Centra Connect app lockboxes, which, by the way, work terribly. Like for realtors, because you go there and the app doesn't want to work. They are changing it. But it's really a shame that, we have to, that real estate at some areas has come down to this. Mm-hmm. Our job is to show the people that we're working with the properties. If this is out of our comfort zone, that's why RICO has the referral agreement form. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So those are some of the changes that I've noticed so far with Tressa, along with the open bidding. Yeah. And I'm starting to see, I've been in bidding wars now with a couple of clients of mine, what feels like forever in the last 2 weeks. And I'm starting to notice some of the realtors that are doing, the listing agents that are holding it, are actually starting now to incorporate some of it, even though we don't have the forms yet. Yeah. But, when they're calling me to say, okay, Tara, now I want you to know that you are actually number 4 out of whether it was 9 or 6 or whatever, like they're starting to implement some of the changes. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a great opportunity for our sellers. Difficult for us to learn how this is going to rock and roll. We're used to just doing it one way, but I'm a big believer in you have to have an open mind. Yeah. Right. Oh,
absolutely.
Here for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, exactly. And then some of these are, it's going to be uncomfortable, but any change is a little uncomfortable in the beginning as we learn to understand it better. And then in many cases, it turns to be of a benefit to us, right? And then you forget about the old way and like, oh, I can't even believe that we used to do it this way, right? Yeah. So, but it's great that things are changing, and it sounds like it's targeting areas of concern that have continued to pop up, likely with RICO in the last however many years. And it sounds like it could be a positive, right? It's not necessarily a negative from what it sounds like so far.
The one thing I think, from me being in the business for so long, we all get into a habit of doing business a certain way, and it does become your comfort zone. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Right. We're used to doing offer presentations a certain way. We're used to, having our own way with the buyer rep. Everybody does it a little different, but we all know that we have to get this signed at the very minimum at the point of an offer. Mm-hmm. And we don't like change, that's for sure. And I understand it, but many of us, when the market was really crazy, witnessed firsthand how some realtors were operating. And I think if you take a step back and go, okay, well, this, and this I know happened this year, then you can kind of have a little bit of a better understanding as to maybe why the act has changed in order to deal with certain situations a lot better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And does anybody else have any thoughts on it as we wait? Mm-hmm. Everybody's afraid to. learning it. That's the whole thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that too, it's even though these rules are potentially going to require some sort of agreement when it comes to seeing a property, that's going to be even with your leads, right? So a lot of our discussions in the past is like, I got these people, they want to go look at properties, but they're not willing to commit, right? So, and you hear the frustration sometimes because some people out there are just hopping through agent to agent to agent,
Sure.
right? Yeah. And you might not know that you're putting all this effort and this work into this person, and then all of a sudden they bought something with somebody else, and that there's that frustration. But I think this is going to help ease a lot of that frustration because the consumer is going to get familiar. It will take time, of course, right? Because you're going to get a lot of, well, that's not what we used to do, right? Well, things have changed, but it's going to get you feeling a lot more comfortable talking about agreements, right? Because I know that's an uncomfortable subject for many, is just getting those agreements signed, like just the buyer rep as it is, right? So now it's just going to be norm that it's just a regular part of your day-to-day practice.
I do. I think the public, I mean, if I can take a step back, I mean, I was in real estate before we had the buyer representation agreement, and what Rico used to say is they had who showed the house first. That's how it went, and whatever agent showed that buyer the property first was due commission. That's how it rocked and rolled. So when the buyer's rep first came into fruition, what the Real Estate Council of Ontario did was they started doing paid advertising. So, and I don't know if any of you remember that, but there used to be commercials on TV. Every radio station started talking about advertising that talked about this buyer's representation agreement. So the public started hearing about it more than just from us going, no, you now have to sign this. And it really helped us a lot as realtors because this was new for us.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping is the same thing will happen as well with these two things that the buyers now have to decide. Am I a client or am I self-representing myself? I'm hoping that we're going to see some advertising going along with it. I will tell you what I'm doing because all of you know that I'm all about communicating with my thousands of leads is once I get the forms in front of me, because I believe when I see the forms that Rico is approved to go along with what the buyers have to sign, then I know it's all going to come straight better in my mind. I'm going to start educating my leads through my drip campaign on what they can expect. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to communicate with them to say, listen, don't be surprised. Let me give you a heads up. This is what's changing by law, because everybody wants to blame the realtor, right?
Yes.
Oh, she's making me sign something and I told her I didn't want to, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Start saying the Real Estate Council of Ontario has now changed our act. This is how the act is. And maybe once we get TRESA in its full form, like we have REBA 2002, we can actually maybe quote the article on there, article number 7/123, here's what it is. And I think this is a great opportunity for realtors to show the leads that we're here to also educate them on what's going on in the real estate field, aside from listings and market updates.
Yes. No, absolutely.
I would really say to everybody, get familiar with it and start tossing around those ideas, how you can word a very simple.
Exactly. Incorporate it. If it's even an email and linking to the document or whatever it might be, right?
Exactly. You can link it right on. The act's going to be, no doubt in my mind, right on the Real Estate Council of Ontario site. I also think even incorporating, now see, leads, my mind's going, incorporating a couple of videos and just start role playing in the videos. Expect your agent to ask you, are you going to self-represent yourself while I show you at 123 Main Street, or are you going to be a client of mine for 123? Wouldn't that be great to just do?
Just have exactly.
videos that
It's
they can
easy,
watch.
right? We have to make it easy for the consumer to understand this change,
Yep.
right?
I'll
So,
tell you something, you guys do that and those people are going to use you,
mhm,
right?
great set. It's comfortable, and then they gain confidence, right?
Yeah.
That you're not just misleading them on, or oh, she just wants me to do business with her, or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
It gives them a little bit more confidence in your honesty, that you're
Right.
still acting in their best interest, and I'm just giving a heads up because just in case, like, oh, this person, and they try to bounce to somebody else, so you're just going to get the same information from that person, right?
Right.
So
So that's where I'm
it,
thinking maybe this time, as opposed to when the buyer's representation first came into an agreement,
mhm,
maybe this time, because now it's going to be standard practice when you show a property, as I understand it, you have to sign A or B.
mhm,
I'm wondering now if now we're going to see buyers more committed to agent A,
yeah,
because now this is truly standard practice.
yes, yes.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting. And then even the sellers, because I just briefly read on it that the seller, is it the seller that has the option of disclosing the other offers? Is it
Yes.
their choice if they want
Yeah.
to, which I think is great because it gives those buyers a fair chance of understanding, okay, we have no chance in hell at getting this one. Look at the number one offer right now.
Right. Yeah.
Or they're like, hey, you know what? We only need to bump it up and do this, and we have potential at getting this property, right? So it's without, and it protects people too from overpaying, like over offering with those offers. When everything was going crazy and things were going like so much over asking,
Yeah.
not really knowing what the top offer was, probably helped create some of the higher like the higher prices, right? Because people
Well,
are going in blind.
yeah, and the problem is now it has to appraise, right? And that's what we
Mm-hmm.
all know, that it got really icky.
Mm-hmm.
And right now in Durham and a lot of part of the GTA, we're back into the massive bidding wars again. So,
Yeah.
here we go again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go with buyers now all of a sudden needing properties. There's not enough inventory. So, I think the open bidding, the way that I'm understanding it, and the third video that was just released for Tressa
Mm-hmm.
does talk about that.
Okay.
And I only got about 20 minutes into it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to choose. There's going to be
Mm-hmm.
a couple of options for our sellers, whether or not they're going to disclose all of the information or whether or not they're going to disclose a certain amount. And then
Mm-hmm.
they're going to need to sign it. So I think very similar as what we have now, guys, with the seller's direction, the way that I'm understanding it is once that document's signed, it'll be attached to the listing so that all the agents can see, okay, this process is going to be that.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be quite interesting. I mean, I'm very interested to
Mm-hmm.
be able to say to my sellers, how do you want to proceed with this, and just watch how it plays out.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean, there's a lot of us that have buyers that don't have unlimited budgets, and we're
Mm-hmm.
sitting there till, 1 o'clock in the morning while the seller and the agent are going through 30 offers. I know we haven't gotten it, but you're still waiting to get that final word. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to eliminate a lot of that.
Yeah.
Right? That you're going to know you're not in the running. You can call it a day.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
you're number 35 of 36 offers.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
This is
You're at the
currently
bottom.
number one. This is currently number one right now. Right.
Yeah.
And then of course, knowing your client, is this like number one even feasible or not? Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it'll definitely create, a lot less tension and stress. And, you kind of know right away if you're in it or not.
I mean,
yeah.
how many times did we get? I mean, you probably had this too, where, a buyer will come back and go, yeah, but was there really, and then you would try
absolutely.
to
Right.
that we have Form 801 and everybody has to sign it. And then, because we don't see, as a buyer's agent, we don't see the 801s, right?
Mm-hmm.
It stays in listing brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
My buyers are like, how do we know? How do you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like full disclosure, I've got one listing at this price, another one at this offer at that, you know what I mean? Now
Mhm.
maybe the buyers won't doubt,
Yes.
or maybe they still will. I
Mhm.
mean,
It does give, and I guess it all depends on how you want to run it and what's important to that seller, right? So maybe you have the top 5 contenders here. This is the highest price, this is this, but you know what? It's not my sellers, their only focus isn't just the price. It's a lot of the conditions and the closing and all that other, the attributes to the actual sale of the home that sometimes is more important than the higher price.
right.
Right. So it gives people then that fair opportunity to, make adjustments to any of the conditions that they have or closing dates or whatever it might be. Right. So
Right.
I think it'll be interesting to see how that rolls out and how it benefits not only the buyers, but the sellers and actually gaining what it is they're actually looking for in
Yes,
an offer.
very much.
Mhm.
So it was supposed to go into effect April 1st. So they've delayed that because they're still working on the forms. So right now, we're kind of just at a standstill with it, but definitely everybody just keep educating yourself on it. If you haven't watched that video, watch it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just so at least you're not thrown into it with it.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, I have no idea what's going on here. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like
never fun. That's never
no,
fun.
no,
Like,
no, that's not how it's
and
right.
yeah, and I think even with I'm sure a lot of these councils communicate like as soon as they're coming and word of press is out there. I'm sure BC FSA is going to be aware of it. And really, all you have to do, Saket, is once it's. Do you know when it's supposed to fully roll out, Tara?
Well,
Like,
that's what I just said. It was supposed to be April 1st, and they
yeah,
put a halt on it because they're still
okay,
on the forms.
yeah,
The forms have to go along with the act, right? We
yeah.
can't ask our sellers if they want an open bidding war, what if they want an open bidding system if we don't have the forms for them to sign.
Sign
So
it. Yeah,
that is
yeah.
still now, and as far as I know, as of today, there's a
Hmm.
due date. I don't think it's going to take that long. I mean, in my
Yeah,
opinion, how hard would it be to create a form? Like
yeah.
but
And well, exactly. And it could be something, Saket, too, where you get a lot of fellow realtors to kind of point this out and then like basically go after the BCFSA saying we want something similar to this,
is that what you
right?
guys have there? The
Um,
BFSCA?
I have no idea. Saket would have to be the one that, yes. Okay.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So it's probably something similar where it's,
Okay.
yeah,
In another
BC. Yeah.
province.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the interesting thing, and I was thinking about this when we first got word, which was last year, that they were changing the act and renaming it. When your province, whatever the board is, that like ours is the Ontario Real Estate Association, when they send you out those surveys, like we'll always get a survey from them, asking you all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. Do you like this? Do you like that? A lot of times those surveys, Crystal, will also say, are there any concerns you have in the field? What have been your experiences lately?
Hmm.
And I believe when they start to collect, listen, this is realtors are giving the lockbox codes to their buyers. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those are the types of thing that go
Hmm.
far into trying to get changes made. So I
Hmm.
think for everybody, if you see those surveys, take the 5 minutes to fill it out, because that's how they can see consistency with certain things always that we're experiencing, right?
Hmm.
And then they're
Hmm.
going to go, oh, shoot, maybe we need to do something about it so this doesn't keep happening.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's a purpose for those surveys. And I was the biggest
Yeah.
for years,
I know,
that
right?
never filled it out.
I know, right?
I
You're like,
get one.
ah,
Oh,
yeah.
and Priya also sends out a survey. Fill that
Hmm.
out. Take
Hmm.
the time.
Yeah, because they're going to collect a lot of the answers to say, okay, well, this is obviously an area of concern for, several thousand realtors. Maybe we should look at this, right? So
How are they going to know?
yeah,
Right?
you're not going to
How
know.
are they going to know? So
Mhm.
anyway, it's just, from the book of Tara, chapter 1, verse 1. The surveys, because I do think that there's still a lot more changes that should be done to kind of really get some realtors that are unethical back into line.
Oh
And
yeah.
it doesn't always help just by, going to RICO and reporting. Sometimes we need
Mm-hmm.
to make the councils aware, CREA, your
Yeah.
local, this is what's happening.
Exactly.
It's too bad that we have to say that, isn't it?
I know, right?
Can't you just be honest?
Yeah.
Can't
And
this
then
be a perfect world, Crystal?
I know, where everything's just, everyone's honest
Right.
and everything just goes smoothly and everyone's just happy at the end of all the day and all the transactions, just like, it's like poof, get paid.
Yeah. And get paid and call it a day.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
I know that John had a question. So John, I'm just going to allow you to talk because I imagine you might just want to talk and ask a question. If you
Hey,
care
John.
to, you're on mute. So if you have a question you want to ask John, you're more than welcome to. It's just you're muted. You're just muted. That's all.
Can you unmute him? Oh, wait, maybe we can.
No, he has to unmute him, so I can ask unmute, but yeah, we'll see. So someone just asked what Vimeo is. So Vimeo is Vimeo's like YouTube. Okay, so after these sessions, so tomorrow, you guys typically that have registered before get an email. Thank you for attending the Tara Baylis. Open that email because there's a link right into the Vimeo channel with the recordings for this. Okay. So if you ever miss any of our webinars, it'll say, sorry, we missed you because you didn't log in, or thanks for joining us. And they both have basically the same content in that email, which will be the link to the Vimeo where you're going to find the recording.
Yeah.
Everything.
And you know what? Tell your friends, tell any other realtors that there's a lot of good stuff that Agent Locator does by doing these webinars. It doesn't have to be that you guys just always come to mind. You can, there's so much to learn and there's great interaction. And remember, what do I always say, Crystal? There's so much that we can learn from one another.
Oh, yeah.
And what I love about being part of this is I learn just as much from you guys when you let me know what you think in the chat box, right? It's a tough business, and it's getting to be tougher again with the bidding wars going back in to fruition. It's unbelievable.
It's just, yeah. it's interesting because it's very segregated to specific areas. We're not seeing this everywhere right now. It almost seems to be like it's condensed into certain areas, right? So where I live, I'm pretty confident we're not going to bidding wars right now. I know Beverly, we had on the webinar. She's like, they're definitely not going into bidding wars there. She just listed her property below what she thought value would be. Crickets, right? So it's yeah. So it's like it's so different. Whereas like before, it was like everything was going crazy across Canada, across the United States. Like it was just going nuts. Right. Yeah. And then now it's kind of, what we would probably typically see is some areas are just booming and other areas are kind of just coasting. So, and some are still trying to get up there. So
it's unbelievable here again. It is.
Yeah. It's difficult. Difficult.
Yeah. We just got this little tiny break. And now we're just back on to
chaos.
Not enough story. But again, how has the leads been? How have the searches been, Crystal? Are the Google searches back up? And
they are, generally speaking, people are searching again, right? There's the buyer confidence is coming back. So that's definitely helpful. So anyone that's running ads, you may have noticed that you may have gotten a few extra leads just because the quantity of people now going back and doing home searches has kind of peaked again because of that confidence.
Yeah. And I don't know about in BC, and I don't know if everybody on here is, Ontario, but I do know that the trend seemed to be that everybody thought the market was going to somewhat crash. And I don't like using that term because I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But everybody was kind of like, we'll wait and see because 2023, all the projections are lower.
Yeah.
And now we're dealing with a situation where, for us, there's not enough inventory. Now all the buyers that were thinking it was going to go down didn't happen. So now they're all buying, and now they're driving the prices back up again. But I will tell you from mine, as you know, I buy a fair number of leads, a ton of activity, a ton of new leads. So I know right now that the Google searches are super, super high right now. We're at a time when everybody's going to want to be moved by summer, right?
Yeah.
Especially if they are calling for a beautiful summer, like I hear. So I think now what I'm starting to notice with my leads is they're getting in the car very, very quick. And they're, how Agent Locator has the ability to say that they like the property more than 3 times.
Yeah.
As you guys know, I have that email. I just simply call it liked 3 times. So I'm always sending it out. I cannot stress enough, Crystal. Again, I say this every time we're on, how many people I get in the car, even by my drip. That's always a staple, but me just sending that out when I'm watching YouTube or whatever. It is a phenomenal way to just simply say to your person, hey, Kathy, I happen to notice that you really liked 123 Main Street. I think the email that I have says, this is actually a really good property. Maybe we should take a look at it. And they reply back and go, yeah, I want to see it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's mind-boggling. I was telling one of our owners this morning about it, and I just said it's a no-brainer, to just go that little bit extra. Right?
No, exactly. It's it's working for your business, like to gain your business, right? So we can't sit back all the time. Like, your drip campaign is there so you can kind of sit back, but we actually also have to be proactive in the process as well, right? Yeah. So those alerts that they like a listing or they viewed it multiple times, take advantage of those. Leverage it, right? There's a reason why they do that, or why they're going back and looking at that property more than twice or 3 times. And there's a reason why they liked it, right? So, and typically people that are liking listings, I would say, I'm like, I can't be 100% confident, but kind of thinking of like myself and how if I'm looking at properties, I'm not going to go onto a website and start liking properties that I have no interest in maybe pursuing sometime soon.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it would be pointless. Like, why am I liking this property if I'm like, I'm not even moving? But so I find that if you're noticing that behavior, you've likely got somebody they're that much closer to the process or ready to start going looking at homes. So you should definitely jump on it.
Right. And the beautiful thing about it is, if they do want to go out and take a look at it, before the act changes, clearly we're going to have to ask them which do they fall under.
Yeah.
But I just love the opportunity to start to create that one-on-one connection. So for any of you that might not already have kind of something written up, remember the reason that we get these notifications from Agent Locator is to help us have a warmer reason to reach out to them. So we don't just want to not look at those notifications because they're there for a really good reason. They're there to help us connect with this warm lead. And it does fall on you guys, just like it fell on me. Okay, Agent Locator's now given me an option where they're telling me somebody's liked a property 3 times. When I first started with Agent Locator, they didn't have any of that. So now I want to take advantage of it because now I have a little bit more ammo to go back with.
Yeah.
Right.
No, for sure. Right. There's a purpose to why you're reaching out. Right. And especially for some of you that are a little bit uncomfortable with reaching out to people, you feel like there has to be a reason behind what you're doing. That's your reason right there. So it definitely takes a lot of the pressure off yourself. And, what have you got to lose? Nothing. A response like, no, we're not quite ready. Right. Like, you can establish a conversation and really, once you get those conversations going, it's just a matter of keeping that conversation going there on out and building the relationship.
Yeah. Remember this, you've already bought the lead. So using the different things that Agent Locator is providing us with to be able to connect a little bit more with our lead is really important. you know, but again, it stems, you know, you and I have talked about what about time blocking? What about, you know, all the different things that we have to do? It really does still fall on our shoulders to go, okay, what am I doing? What do I have in place in order to be able to connect with somebody that's liked a property 3 times, or go in and look at what they've looked at, and do I have their search set up properly? You know, we have the ability to do it, but we've got to create the time, and we've got to make the time. Right?
Absolutely. It's kind of
Always
scheduling as a
step
priority. It's
Yeah.
a priority. It's just got to make it a priority. That's all, right? And a lot of the time, and I don't know how you is a lot of us, and especially like right now, as you know, we're full on into the spring market. You know, your time, you're busier. Naturally, you're busier, right? If you're organized with your business and you time block, or you set, you know, your daily organization, you're not as busy as you think you are. Because I use a calendar. If you ask me what I'm doing, I'm like, you don't even ask me. I have to look at my calendar. I'm not thinking about it. A lot of us don't use calendar. You'd be amazed at how many people I talk to use online calendar. No, I don't. You'd be amazed at how many do not. So all of that is in their head, right? So I got the doctor's appointment, then I got a listing appointment, then I got to do this thing, and then I got to do this and this and this. Like, and so you're creating the chaos in your head a lot of the times. Whereas if you put it somewhere, you don't think about it. It's there, you know, it's taken care of. Your little system is going to remind you that you got to do it. But then you're not constantly thinking about it. You'll actually feel a sense of relief. Like, if you guys don't use online calendars, you will feel like, oh, I don't know why I didn't do this before.
It's true.
Yeah.
I use an online calendar, but I still have also my date book.
Yeah.
Because
a lot of people,
you know, somebody's like, do you need something? And can't go online, at least I can look in my date book. You know, like anything else, you know, when you're buying into these systems like Agent Locator, again, it falls on us to learn it and to put in our drip campaigns, or use the drip campaigns that Agent Locator provides for you. We are the ones that still have to implement it. And I think the common thing that I hear over and over again is, I'm not getting anything from them. And then you know, Crystal, I'm always saying, well, okay, let's take a look at your drip campaign. Is it assigned to all your people? What are you doing? Are you revising their search? What else are you doing? And they haven't done a thing.
They haven't done anything.
So it took me, once I completed my actual email drip, I mean, when I put it into your system, into the CRM, the template editor, I don't know, like maybe it took me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it takes a little bit of time to just sort of set it up.
Yeah.
Then think about it again.
You don't have to think about it until like every few months, and you know, okay, maybe I should check on this because things are changing.
I still go into it every day. I still watch my notifications every day, but you know, once it's in there, it's so much easier to use. So that's why, you know, if you guys are fine that you don't have your drip campaigns in, or you haven't started doing this or that, just take half a day and do it. And it'll take less than half a day. Yeah. And then it's done. And you can breathe a sigh of relief, and you can go do your business. Needs are being cared for. Yeah. That's what it's about. I met with somebody today who has never done Google Leads. And their business has always been very, very good. Yeah. And, you know, I looked at them and I said, that's really great. They're finding their business on the one side is kind of drying up because it's been a lot of referrals in Sphere, which was wonderful. Like, that's huge. Great. Yeah. And, you know, I always use this analogy, you know, if something's wrong in your house, if an appliance goes wrong, if, you know, what do you do? And everybody says the same thing. And I do it. I Google search. Okay. What happens when my fridge makes this noise?
Yeah, exactly. How do I fix this? What is this spot? Yeah.
So why would you not buy the Google Leads? Right? You've got to put yourself where they are. So now you've bought them. Now you got to make sure that you take the few minutes to set up the system so it operates the way you can breathe. You can go show houses, sell houses, and know that your leads are getting the drip. Your leads are getting listings every day, and all you have to do is answer their emails and give them a call.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not hard.
No, it's just doing it. That a lot of people, and again, it's like one of those, I got to build this thing, and we make it a bigger task a lot of times in our head than it actually is. Right? If we break it down, okay, you know what? I'm just going to put together an email today or 2 emails today, and then tomorrow I'll do a couple more. And you break it down into bite-sized pieces. It's not so overwhelming, but you'll actually be amazed once you start doing it of how, you know, we always create things generally, and with any subject, a lot bigger in our brains than it actually is. Right? Like you start to dread this. Oh, like whatever. Okay, well that only took 30 minutes. I don't know. Like, why I was procrastinating for so long on that one. But yeah, we often do that. So it is just taking the time and putting it together, and depending on the content of that, you know, think of how you can use that dually. You can, you know, depending, maybe it's like an educational campaign where you're educating people, take some of those emails and, you know, periodically create them as blog posts on your website. Right. So you're kind of serving 2 purposes as part of my campaign, and I'm adding value and content to my website as well at the same time.
That's great. Crystal,
Yeah.
I haven't done.
Now you're like, okay, where's my calendar?
Wow, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, because there's like a lot of you do have, so just consider this, a lot of you guys have content, a lot of templates already built into your Agent Locator CRM system. Take some of those articles or emails, rewrite them, put them in your own words. Of course, don't, you know, copy it word for word, but put them as blog posts. A lot of you guys know you should be doing this, but don't have the time or don't know what to write about, whatever. Just take what's already there, play around with it, make it your own, post it, done. Easy peasy.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Austin, might want to make that a to-do. Okay. It's an interesting time. I think that we're all very blessed to be realtors. It's a very difficult job.
It is. Sure. Yeah.
And I've said that repeatedly to everybody, and I've listened to on this webinar everybody's story and what they've overcome. And I think that we can just all stay in the game if we can all just keep our mindset in check. You know, remember, this is marketing, and marketing 101 is always give them a little bit of a tease so that they'll come to you because you haven't given them quite enough information, right? So anything that we're putting out, we're not going to give them the whole farm.
Yeah.
We're just going to give them that little bit of a tease, because conversion is based on them wanting more from us. That's why if you look at my email drip, only do they get a little bit lengthy was when I'm talking about the buyer's representation agreement. Other than that, do not give a lot of information. You want to just give a couple of short paragraphs and let them ask you for more. Right? Right. So that's a really big key in trying to make sure, even when you're on the phone, right? Don't start with a survey, right?
You want to, exactly.
Say, I'm here, and let them direct you as to how they want the call to go. You're going to have a lot more success with conversion if you don't give away the farm before they've given something to you.
Exactly. And then even if they have, like, you know, try to, you know, you also want reasons to call people back from time to time as well, right? So, or be responsive to your call when you call them back because you said you're going to agree to it. If we're giving them all the information, there's no reason for them to talk to you anymore. You just gave them everything they need to know. So again, like you were saying, just give them enough to satisfy it. But if they want more, like, you know, you were going to suggest maybe like, you know, the next step or a little bit more discussion as to, you know, why they're looking for this information.
Yep. Perfect. That's the perfect way. So, you know, all of you have heard me many, many times. I'm a big believer in short and sweet. I'm one of those people that if you send me an email that's like long and long and long, like you've lost me at sentence number 2.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the
Yeah.
one that, I don't want to, just tell me what you want. Let me get on.
Yeah.
And I adore you. It's not like I'm not,
Yeah.
and I always look at my leads going, okay, they don't know me. I want to treat them as I want to be treated. So way back, even when it came to before the internet, when we used to get our business through cold calling or door knocking, you never went with all the answers to the door, because what you wanted to do was, if a neighbor wanted to know what the house beside them sold for, you wanted to knock on their door, introduce yourself as a realtor. And if they asked you that question, then you would say, you know what, when I get back to my office, I'm gonna check. And is it okay if I get your phone number so that I can call you and let you know? What have I just done?
You just collected yourself a lead.
And another opportunity to talk to them again.
Exactly.
So trust me when I say, us old people, we know what we're talking about. That's why these emails, these drip campaigns can only have this much in it, right? And that's why people reply to mine. And that's why I have such a large conversion rate, high conversion rate, we'll call it.
Austin's actually asking a question here. So he says, when a prospect tells you, I'll call you when I'm ready, is there a good way to respond to that to encourage them to reach out without being pushy?
So, hi, my son. Notice he didn't say hi, Mom. You know what? Here's when I'm on the call with somebody, if they say, I'll call you when I'm ready, basically what I hear is, don't bug me with phone calling. That's how I interpret it. I always have, I always will. That means they don't want any more calls. So what I do with something like that is I just simply say, make sure you write down my cell. I'll continue to keep you updated through my regular emails and the listings, and I'm always here when you need me. Right?
Yeah. We all have our tactics to get someone off the phone, right? It's like, I'll be like, do you have something you can email me? Right? Like, that's my go-to. Can you just email my stuff? Because I'm not willing to commit to anything right now. In some cases it's genuine. Like, I don't want to just talk to you about it. Send me some information so I can see what you're talking to me about and then get back to me. In some cases it is just to brush them off. Like, hey, you know what? I'm not really interested, nor do I have time to talk about this right now. So send me some info and maybe I'll get back to you. Right?
Yeah. And listen, if somebody says that, I know how I interpret it. What I said to you is exactly how I handle those types of calls. But you know what? Never look at it as a negative. Always look at it as a positive. You still branded yourself. You made the call. That's what it's all about. They're still going to see your name in the inbox every day because they're getting listings from you every day, and they're getting the drip campaign. So, you lost nothing, and you've gained a check mark that you made a call. Now they've heard your voice. That's all you need. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Glad to see you're making your calls.
Sorry?
I said, glad to see my kids making the calls.
There you go, right? There we go. And I know, so John, Tara is using the V2. So the TaraRealEstate.com, that is not the site that she's using to generate leads on. She's using the automated, got an unbranded site. I believe you might have the same site, but I think it's the basic search. Here's all the listings, because that's what we know you're looking for.
Now for years, Sunny told me for years, go to the unbranded, and I'm like, no, because I'm stubborn. No. So for years, I got my Google leads through TaraLeeRealEstate.com. And I did get leads. And then I want to say, Crystal, it was before COVID that I finally listened to Sunny and went, all right, just give me an unbranded site then. And wow, game changer. Game changer. And I was already converting, no problem. It made no sense to me that I had to change because I was getting so many leads through Google, through my branded site. But the unbranded is much better. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think mine is begintosearch.com.
Yeah, I think that's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the umbrella. Like, and again, there's a lot, and it really comes down to preference at the end of the day. If you guys feel like you have to be all over that site, reality is these people that are going on Google and looking for listings, they're not searching for realtors. They're not going on Google saying, where's the best realtor in Toronto? They're going, where are all the listings in Toronto? They don't care who all the agents are. So, at this point in time, they just want what you have to offer. They're kind of using you in a sense, because they just want the listings. They don't need all the sugar coating and all the information at this point. They just want listings. And so that's why those sites are effective, because you're giving them exactly what they're searching for at that point.
Right. Yeah. I will tell you though, I did end up getting a buyer, and she did a Google search for realtors in Brighton, and my site came up because even though it was terraleerealestate.com, it still had the Google AdWords behind it. You could still search for listings on it, all of that.
Yeah.
And she never did register as a lead, just so you know, but she actually got to that site. Of course, my name and number was on there, and she called me directly.
Yeah, there you go.
I still count her as the leads, even though she actually didn't register
on there, right?
Yeah, but she Google searched realtors and I popped up. And even though she didn't come in that way, it still worked in conjunction with the pay-per-click leads that I bought, because it brought my site up through the AdWord campaign. She just happened to see, because my face was on there, and went, okay, I'll call her.
Yeah.
So you never know. What I can tell you is it'll never happen if you're not buying these leads.
And then that also goes back to adding content to your website. If you guys want to pop up more often in search results organically, you have to be adding content to your site regularly. If you guys do any kind of Google searches, they're not putting some stale site at the top of the search. You're getting the most active sites that have related content in the top of those search results. Okay. Right. So that's your organic SEO. So if you have the time, like once a week, even to add content, right? Add a blog, or you guys all have community pages on your branded website. One day at a time. Don't do it all at once, but like, let's say once a day, or one every other day, or once a week. Whenever you have time, add that content, because Google starts to recognize that as you're updating your content and your website on a regular basis with relative content. Okay. So that, it takes time. It's not instant, right? But it'll also encourage your site popping up more when people are even looking for specific listings that aren't even your listings. Right. They drove by a house and, it's 123 whatever street, and then Tara's website showing first. Meanwhile, it's my listing. Well, Tara adds more content to her website. That's why she's showing first. Right. Yeah. So that's one of the bigger complaints that we used to get, is like, why is so-and-so? It's like, well, Google doesn't know whose listing it is. Right. Google just knows that this person's a little bit more active with their website than you are. Right. So that's really all it comes down to. So
that's very interesting.
And hyperlinking, right? Google loves hyperlinking. So make sure you add hyperlinks in there. So if you're talking about a certain area, in the city of Toronto, link it to the city of Toronto website.
Okay, but let me ask you this. For somebody like me who simply cannot take on anymore, is that something that we can go to tech support and go, can you put this on there? Or if
you have it, you can ask them. Yeah, if it becomes like if you guys are emailing them every day being like, can you add this to my site? They might start charging you, because now you're treating them like your assistant. It really comes down to the discretion of the support team and the manager at that point. But if you don't, they won't create the content for you. You would have to. No. Yeah.
But so do all of us, in regards, when we have our website with you, do we have the ability to go in the back end and do it ourselves?
100%.
Okay. 100%. Austin, you might want to look into that too.
Okay. Yeah. Are you taking notes?
Yeah, poor kid.
It's easy. It's always easy for, and I always say this to everyone, I can spit out all the things that you guys can be doing. It's one thing for me to say that you guys, and how easy it is to do it. The other is actually doing it and applying. And I know those are very different things. in a perfect world, it was like, yeah, every day I'm doing this and da, da, da. Like, I know
Right.
that's not reality, right?
Right.
I know that's not reality. It seems a lot simpler when I'm telling you about it than actually putting it together. Because if you are hyperlinking, it's now, what am I hyperlinking, right? The City of Toronto or school boards, or you're talking about, it's just promoting different things, and it just helps boost your SEO when you're doing that, because it's
Well,
kind
that
of
makes
relative
sense.
to that.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's
So
haven't we learned a lot today?
yeah,
I
so many
learned
different
something.
things.
I have a lot more work to do.
Yeah.
Now, in regards to doing the sites behind the scenes with ourselves, can we watch the videos on Agent Locator tutorials?
Yeah, and it really depends on the websites that you guys have.
Okay.
So if you guys, and I don't even know if your Tara Lee's, I don't know if that one is on our V2 or not. I don't think it is. I know I opened
We'll
it
look and
somewhere.
see.
Yeah, it is. No, that one's on our legacy. So those would be different instructions than those of you who have a branded website that is on the automated platform. So you can always just reach out to support 100%. If you guys want to learn how to do this, reach out to support at agentlocator.ca. They'll either share documents with you on how to do whatever it is you're asking. If you request like CRM training on your website, we'll either, it comes to my kind of department. So then we'll either send you just like, I have tutorials on all of that, videos. And then if you're, truly like, I really don't get this, then we can schedule something in for you. But yeah, definitely on the new platform, it's way simpler than the older platform. I'll say that much, just easier.
Okay.
It's a little more user friendly, that's for sure. But yeah, and then I think we had just a couple questions here just with respect to drip campaigns and building those out. I think with configuring those campaigns and what would that look like ideally? Like, how long is your campaign, Terry, just as an example, and how far apart are your emails scheduled from one another?
Pardon me, sorry for coughing. Mine right now is what we call an 85 drip campaign. This is a buyer campaign. So mine, that's a campaign with email drips, as well as some integrated text messages throughout it. Mine goes out usually nothing more than once every 6 days, sometimes 7. Each one, it just depends which one during the campaign that I decide to retweak, maybe bring one in and take one out, where sometimes it ends up changing. But we get listings every day. So we already know that as soon as they land on Agent Locator, they're getting listings from us every single day. So I already know my name's going in the inbox every day with brand new listings. So the idea behind the drip campaign that I've done is now very softly, roughly once a week, they're hearing from me, super soft, just saying, hey, it's Tara. How are you enjoying the site? Have you seen anything? Or, hey, it's Tara. I work with some really great industry partners. If you want any mortgage advice or have any questions, let me know and I'll refer you. Just super easy stuff.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. What I have known through 19 years of doing leads, converting leads, is it's about the branding. It's about how often they see our name every day that we're starting to build that trust. Right? Now they're starting to go, oh, shoot, real estate, Tara, without me hounding them, without me calling them 20 times until they answer the phone. 20 days. You know what I mean? I work on I really rely very heavily on my drip campaign with calls a little bit throughout. I don't have to call them very often because I can convert simply by them replying to my emails, and they do.
Yeah.
Right? That's why when I say, when you're creating your drip campaign, do not give away the farm. Just a couple of short paragraphs, stop and let them reply to you to get the rest of the info. So when somebody sits in front of me, I'm not converting my leads, they're not replying to me, and I go in and look at their emails and they've got 5 paragraphs, I'm like, you lost them at paragraph 1.
Yeah. 3 sentences in and they're done.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I listen to what I'm saying. I'm not telling you
Yeah.
a lie. Do
Yeah.
not go on and on and on.
Well,
Right?
you want to make it seem like you just threw that email together and shot it off to them. Like it's very personal. Like you just sat there, composed this email and sent it to them. Because then it doesn't appear like it's a drip either. Right? It just appears like you sent them an email. If you guys are composing these massive emails, people aren't dumb. They don't even just sit there and just compose this whole email just for them. Right. So the shorter, the better, because again, you're pulling them in with a little bit, but it seems very realistic that you actually took the time and personally just sent them that email. Exactly.
Just if you guys are trying to do that when we leave, just remember what I told you, what we used to do before the internet.
Yeah.
And door knocking. If somebody wanted to know what their neighbor sold, we never told them on the spot. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Even we knew. And we would always say, well, let me go back and
Let me go back. Let me go check this. Let me go do that at the back of the office.
Can I have your phone number? And now we're one step closer, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.
This was it was great. Awesome. We got a lot of coverage here and questions answered and asked, and we learned some things. So all around good.
I have more work to do.
You're like, oh, great. You just gave me more work.
Crystal, and believe me, Crystal gives me work to do that you guys don't even know. Right? I got to do my site. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Questions. Come on the next one. We'll see you then.
All right.
Okay. Bye.